This is a how-to video on how to install a remote start system on a 2015 Jeep JK. In this kit, you will get your instructions, which honestly are pretty vague if you're not a car person, because like one of the first steps is disconnect the immobilizer connector, which not everybody is going to know what your immobilizer is, and it doesn't say how to get to your immobilizer. These are just general instructions on every vehicle. It's not vehicle specific, when you can buy these kits that are supposedly vehicle specific. Like this kit I ordered that was specific for a Jeep Wrangler, but I'm guessing you can use it for other Chrysler products. So they just give you a general, a set of instructions, and that wouldn't help you very much unless you already kind of know a little bit about cars. Of course, it's the order statement. You get some zip ties, and you get the module itself, which is a Y harness. And you may be intimidated when you see all of this extra wire. Like, man, I don't, where am I going to connect all of that stuff? These wires are used to connect to like your marker lights or your parking lights if you want those to activate when your remote start activates. If you just want plug and play, you won't have to mess with any of this stuff. The only thing that you will have to mess with are these plugs. You are going to need some form of light so you can see under the dash, a socket wrench, a 10mm socket, a T20 Torx bit driver, the zip ties which come in the kit, a pair of cutters to cut the zip ties if you wish, and of course your keys to program the system. Okay, your first step once you're in the vehicle is going to be to remove this panel underneath your steering wheel and your steering column. And it's actually just held on with some clips so you can get your hands in here and just pull, and it pops right out. And then your next step is going to be to remove these two 10mm bolts. This is just going to give you access to behind this panel for somewhere to actually put your module so it's out of the way. You have to lift on the panel. It's kind of tricky to get out of there. There we go. Because these little indents. And our next step, we'll be using our T20 Torx to take out 3 screws on the underside of your steering column. There's one that's really easy to see. It'll stick out because it's silver and it's not hidden at all. But then there's one that goes way up inside here that can be a little tricky to get to because you can't see it. And then there'll be a third one over here right next to your lever to raise and lower your steering column. And again, it's one that goes up inside, but not quite as far as this one. And in this next part, you need to separate the two halves of the plastic steering column. So you basically just kind of pull down on it and it'll unsnap. And now you have access to everything underneath here. Okay, your next step is going to be to unplug all of the plugs from your module itself. Should be 4 of them. Be a big white one and a small black one on one side and a white and a red one on the other side. This step can be done inside the Jeep. It's just I did it outside so it's easier for you to see. Now take your module and your harness and make sure you have your keys, and then we're going to go back into the Jeep. This black box here is your immobilizer. Your next step is going to be to unplug this plug here from your immobilizer. There'll be a little push pin on the back of your immobilizer, which is pretty hard to get to. It can be kind of tricky, but you want to push that in and hold the immobilizer push that pin in and unplug your immobilizer. Now, take your harness, plug the immobilizer plug that you just removed into the harness. Take the other end of the harness, wiggle it back in here. Again, support the immobilizer, and plug back into your immobilizer. Your next step will be to take your module, and there is a small button here. I don't know if you can see that or not. There's a small button. Locate where the 4-pronged black pin was plugged in. Find that pin. Push and hold the button in, and plug the black 4-prong back in. And then you should see these lights going through. And when it's solid blue, you'd let go of the button and then start plugging back in all of your other plugs, starting with the big white 20 pin, and then your red pin on the opposite side, and then your white pin. Then you are completely hooked up and ready for the next step. Now we're going to take the key, put it in the ignition, and turn it to the on position. And then it'll start blinking, and then you'll turn it back to the off position, remove the key, and press the lock button. And now it's programmed. Our next step is to kind of tuck this back behind there like it was originally. And what I'm going to do is take some of this extra that we've got here and use one of these zip ties that come in the kit. They give you plenty of zip ties. I'm going to zip tie these together to clean that up a little bit. Use my cutters to cut the extra off the zip tie. Then I'm going to tuck this back inside here and take another one of these zip ties that they supply you with. Now I'm actually going to take this zip tie and wrap completely around the box, if it'll reach. And just kind of zip tie it in here. There you go, that's in there. Doesn't seem to be going anywhere. Use our cutters again. Cut the ends off of the zip ties. Then we should be able to take our plate and get it back into its slots. Remember that it sets down in to these slots. Take our 10mm bolts. Tighten those back up. Then we're going to take the lower section of our cover for the steering column. Wiggle it back into position. And snap it together. There we go. We'll take the silver screw using our T20 Torx again. And put all the screws back in. And then take your lower panel. You have these pieces here that will actually go into these slots. Rotate it back upwards and push until you hear it click. And it's all put back together. Now that we've got it all put together and everything, we're going to try it out. You're going to take your factory key. You're going to hit lock 3 times in a row. And it beeps once to let you know that it's activated. It's going through its startup procedure. Starts up, and it should honk one more time to let you know that it started. And it'll run for 15 minutes and shut itself off, or unless you get in and actually drive somewhere. Now let me show you something else here. Say you've had it running for a couple minutes and it's warmed up. Well, it's going to be locked. Hit unlock. Get in. And put your key in, turn it 1 click, 2 clicks, and then you're good to go. But if you were to turn the key back off, you could take the key back out and you notice that it's still running. It won't shut back off unless you do one of 2 things. And first of those is if you decide you're not going to go anywhere, you hit the lock button 3 more times and it will shut itself off. Or you have to put your key in, 2 clicks, don't go any further because it'll grind on your starter, and you actually have to go somewhere. So like just say we back up a little bit, and then we pull forward back to where we were. Put it in park, and then if you turn off the key, it will actually shut off. People forget a remote start system is built to warm up your vehicle and get the inside warm. So this time we're going to turn on our heat controls. We'll turn on our defroster for our windshield, and we'll turn it on about halfway, and we'll turn it on warm. If you don't turn those on, it defeats the purpose of your remote start. So let's try it this time. You'll hit lock 3 times. And it'll sit there and heat up for you. But again, like I said, if you decide that, oh, I'm not going to go anywhere, you do the same thing, hit lock 3 times. And it'll shut itself off. Okay, we're going to try it from inside and upstairs. You hit the button 3 times. I'm not sure if you can hear it, but it actually started. And let's just shut it back off. And it shut back off. So it works from a pretty good distance. Well, it'll work as far as your key fob will work. And that is how you put a remote start system on your Jeep JK.